Hi there, it's Sam from Pootles.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you for joining me in SpringWatch. This is 14 days worth of video projects coming out to you back to back, focusing on the Spring and the Celebration catalogue. Now you will be right when you're thinking, well, that's not Spring or Celebration paper, and that is because these are my brand new notebooks that are going out to the people who've joined my team. And I do make a wodge of them in one go. I usually make 20 or 30 notebooks at a time, and they are kind of like a limited edition for the people who've joined my team, and then I make a completely different version. Now, I was very fortunate to have 29 people join me in January, ladies and gents, and I ran out of notebooks, so I made some quite quickly, and I pulled out this paper because I love it. I love this paper, and then I thought, oh, that would make a great video tutorial. And then I realised it's not Spring paper, so I'm going to make a Spring version, and I'm going to show you how to cover a notebook. So let me move this out to one side. Now, how you cover a notebook is irrelevant to the size. It's the principle of it. So you measure the length of your notebook, you measure the width. When you're measuring the length, allow what is called a loose edge, so a lip, so you can lift it easily, because the last thing you ever want to do with cardstock is be doing that. So you allow a lip, which is there. That's my lip. You need to make, let me move that out of the way so you can see on the white, you need to make an allowance for this bit and a bit to stick down the back. So I've measured my notebook, and I need, in order to get a good decent coverage at the back that's going to be well anchored, I could probably get away with maybe 10 inches, but I've gone with a full 12-inch length, and I know that my notebook is 6 inches wide, so that's 15 by 30 centimetres. And we have cardstock that is 12 by 12, so I can get 2 covers from one. And what you do first is you put your score lines in first, particularly when you're going to then cut down a piece of cardstock. So for my notebooks, I need 12 by 12 cardstock, 30 by 30 centimetres, and I'm going to score mine at 8 inches and 8 3/8 of an inch, which in metric you're scoring it at 20 and 20.75 centimetres. And so that is how I put this part in here. Okay, so I've scored it first. Now I'm going to cut it, and obviously this is a very simple one. I just need to cut mine in half at 6 inches, so at 15 centimetres. And I'm going to move that one out to one side, even though I've got a couple of notebooks, but I'm just going to make one. And so this is my notebook cover. This is the black part. I like my vanilla layer, so I've got a white layer that I have already cut down. And you make it the same principle as you do when you're making a card. You make it shorter and narrower. Shorter and narrower by half a centimetre if you work in metric, or 1/4 of an inch if you work in imperial. So that's my Whisper white layer. For those of you who are going to make exactly the same one as me, 7 3/4 by 5 3/4. So that's my beautiful Whisper white layer. Now, when I'm just going to stick this down while I chatter away. When I was putting my designer series paper on, I wanted to get the most out of my pack. And while I was getting 2 full notebooks out, 2 notebook covers out of a sheet of 12 by 12, if I went with the same, just making it half an inch, 1/4 of an inch shorter and narrower with the paper, I would only get two notebooks done with per sheet of paper, and I'd have had a big chunk of excess. So I made the decision I would simply make mine a panel of 6 by 6 inches, so 15 by 15 centimetres, meaning I could get 4 from a sheet of paper instead of just the 2. So my paper, and I don't know which one I'm going to choose yet, is from the Celebration catalogue, and it's free paper. Love it. So I don't know which one I want to do. Sorry, it's not 6 by 6 at all. It's less than 6 by 6. It's 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. So all I need to do now, so basically you've got 4 pieces of 6 by 6, and you trim them down. I think I'm going to go with that one. So you're just making it very slightly narrower. So, oh, sorry, I want it 5 1/2 by 5 1/2. My brain's gone. It's that kind of day today. I don't think I've had enough coffee. So by making it a square that sat as a panel there with the overlay, as you can see there, it meant I could get 4 from a sheet of paper. And we like to be able to do things like that, don't we? Ooh. And make the best use of a sheet of paper. And so that is going to sit up there. And then for my stamping, I've got my stamp set, I went with the welcome words, and I have to confess I might possibly have just bought it for the welcome. Although I will probably use the rest, but I love that. Isn't that just a beautiful font? It's a big word. I love it, love it, love it. And yeah, I have got so much use out of it because I have actually made 50 notebooks that I think it's well worth it. There we go, so that's on there, and I've got some cardstock here that I have already cut down because I measured my word and established how big I needed my white panel to be, and then I made my coloured panel 1/2 centimetre wider, 1/2 centimetre taller, or 1/4 of an inch to get my panelling, so that my panelling is exactly the same as these panels here. So this one is 4 and 1/8 by 1.5. 10.5 by 4 centimetres, and this one is 4 3/8 by 1 3/4 or 11 by 4.5 centimetres. So just, like I say, just a little bit wider and taller. Blackberry Bliss, because that's the cardstock. To make sure that's well covered, and apparently so is the block. And this is why we like photopolymer, because you can see what you're doing. And there's my welcome, and that's a very juicy ink pad, so I'm just going to let that dry for just a second. And I hope I don't smudge it. A little bit of snail on the back, onto the panel there. A bit more snail on there. And onto there, and then the last thing to do now is adhere this to my notebooks. So I'm going to give my score lines a really good burnish. And I'm going to put fast fuse on, but you only put it on the back panel because you want to still be able to open up your notebook, and you know, nobody likes to write in a notebook with it stuck open like that. You like it to be open fully. So I'm going to use some fast fuse. And making sure I've got my notebook the right way round, lay it on, and I'm eyeballing it, and give it a good press down. One notebook covered, and you can open it and write in it, and it's ideal. So that's how you do it. So you create your layers and you use paper in the best possible way that you can. So a spring celebration one to go with SpringWatch, but this is one of the ones, one of the many, like I say, there's 50 that I'm just looking at them now, 50 that I've made. 15 of them already went in the post because, like I said, I needed them. And they've got all of the different pattern papers. And here's my SpringWatch version. Anyway, thank you ever so much for joining me today. If you're interested in joining my team and getting your hands on one of these notebooks, head over to my blog, click the Join Me buttons, or maybe the Joining My Team, frequently answer questions. Everything's there. Thank you. Bye.